Hey there, my name's Chris, and I'm with my co-host JP Fluellen, and thank you for joining us again for another episode of the Success Agent Podcast, where we're going to talk about strategies for agents to sell more homes and make more money and spend less time doing it, all with automation. Today we're going to be talking about a topic that's pretty near and dear to my heart and actually affects the majority of agents, both new and old, and that's facing and removing the fear of rejection while prospecting and following up with leads you've already spoken to, as well as strategies to keep yourself accountable and consistent, because really we all know the fortune's in the follow-up. So right off the bat, we're going to be talking about mindset. And I think mindset plagues a lot of people and is really overlooked because it can be, I guess, woo-woo or just like kind of like voodoo or weird. But really, I think mindset's one of the biggest things an agent can improve if they want to see a big performance in their years or in their year. I mean, what do you think, JP? Is like mindset big for you?
So mindset is huge, and that's kind of why I like to get up early. I get up, most days about 5:30, 5:45, go for a run, listen to some podcasts, get my head in the game, start thinking about like how I'm going to strategize my day for, moving forward, try to make the most out of those 8, 9 hours I'm going to spend at work so that I'm always, thinking about the best ways to make those decisions throughout the day. And
Yeah.
so I had made a big push for the Miracle Morning. I don't know if you've heard of that book.
I was actually going to ask you about, do you do your power hour in the morning? That's
The
something I need
Power
to do.
Hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's what was it? I just screwed up. But there's like 5 things that you do. It's like silence, reading, uh, journaling, and then there's a couple other ones. But basically, what it comes down to is that you're not just It's not just mindset in terms of thinking it inside, but it's mindset in terms of initiation to get those mindset things into action. So basically you're getting your mindset and then you're putting those mindsets into action immediately in the mornings. Oh, and exercise is one of those things
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Totally.
So, and one of the things that they talk about, and this is a lot of the really good gurus, like the $1 Million Listing Agent, I think that dude from New York, Todd something or other.
Mhm.
But basically he's big on, you're not just successful in money, but you're also successful in your health, successful in your relationships, successful in all areas of your life. Because if
Mhm.
one is out of sync with the other, then it creates conflict.
Right.
Because let's say, so like for instance, your business is doing really well, but your health sucks. So basically, what's happening is that you're putting too much of your physicality into your work, and it's making you physically ill. Okay. So then what that would translate in is if your physical well-being isn't okay, then your mindset well-being is probably not okay either. And that's translating into your relationships.
Right.
And so you've got to be, well-rounded, and well-grounded. So,
Oh yeah, totally. Like for me, one of the things that I'm trying to work through, because I don't do the miracle hour. I used to be really good about reading and exercising and like doing all the things you're supposed to do, and it really sets you up for the day. So you get that like concrete 8, 9 hours of good, effective work, and then you can just kind of leave it, right? Like that's what we're all striving for, and that's just something I've had so much trouble getting myself to do, and it's just like that mindset flip of like, dude, this stuff works. You just got to invest your time into it. And then by doing that, you're going to become a new person. It's kind of like writing your destiny, right? If you tell yourself the person that I want to become does these things, well, then you're kind of switching your mindset to the becoming self, right? You're moving away from who you are to who you want to become.
right. Well, if you're around the 5 people that you most want to be like, then you're going to become the average of those 5 people.
Uh-huh.
And so if your 5 people that you spend the most time with are a bunch of losers, well, you may if you are the average of the 5 people that you're around, then you're gonna go nowhere.
Right. Stay in the exact same
You're
spot.
gonna stay in the exact same spot, or you might even go down.
Yeah. So with you doing
So
like these miracle mornings and all that, how has that affected, your just like your confidence on the phone? Because so much of real estate beyond mindset or like entrepreneurship in general is confidence. And I've learned this just going through this. If you're like a confident person and you sound confident and you know what you're talking about, or at least it sounds like it, people are like so much less likely to even question what you're saying and just take what you're saying as fact, and then they just trust you and kind of, you can just win people over easy.
well, I think a lot of it, okay, so it comes from a couple places. One is uh, practice and mindset.
Hmm.
So if you're on a team that has a team leader that is about accountability, and that will help you keep your mindset, because you know that person's gonna check in on you and make sure that you're continuing to make your phone calls and have the right attitude and and smile while you're on the phones.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, even though they can't physically see you, if you're always smiling when you're on the phone, then that happiness is going to come through in your ability to articulate what it is you need to tell your leads to get them to take action.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like on my team, it's coaching, training, leads, accountability. Those are the things that really make a well-rounded agent before the tracking and all the other things. But those are the core pieces, because if you're not putting any energy out, you're not going to get any energy back. So
Right.
therefore, you're just going to stay where you're at, and you're not going to move forward. Period.
Yeah. Or did you see like a big increase when you started, like, so when you first got started, were you focused on mindset? So were you like at all, was that on
Yeah.
your
So I
radar?
had no mindset. When I
Yeah.
first got into business, I did not. I hated my old job to the point where I did not want to work.
Right.
So I became a real estate agent because I could set my own hours, right? That's why everybody joins. You get to set your own hours and
Right. It's
come and
easy
go
money.
as you
It's all
please.
passive.
Yeah, and somehow, it just rains from the sky.
Right.
But it
Yeah.
didn't. So I had to change my mindset and my attitude about what it was to be a successful real estate agent.
uh,
And one of my mentors told me, he's like, dude, you got to show up. That's step number one. You got to show up, and you got to show up on time.
yeah.
Just showing up just whenever does not, you're not putting the correct or the right energy in.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're just going to continue to just kind of be like, well, you get to make your own hours, do whatever you want. Well, if you're making your own hours, you're coming in at 4 and you're leaving at 5. Well, that doesn't help. That's not going to get you anywhere.
Right.
So, so, and then it's like, okay, well, okay. And then the mindset is you got to treat this job like any other job you ever had. So you
Right.
come in at 8, you'll leave at 5. You take your hour lunch and you get back after it. And I think that what makes our team successful is that, I'm hounding my guys like, dude, where have you been? Like, if they didn't have somebody like, where have you been? Then it just becomes, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. Oh, yeah, 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 okay, all right. And then they slowly just drift further and further away from the business, because
Right.
this is a very, success train driven business. One success leads to the next success, leads to the next success. And if you don't have enough of those cars on your train, then the connection between all of those things becomes a disconnect. And
Mm-hmm.
eventually, you can't be all full steam and have no train cars to pull,
Right.
because then you have no successes, and the successes are what drives to the next one. So
Yeah. And that's actually kind of a good segue. So like so you're a team leader now. Um, you know, it's so important. So it's so important to measure things. The saying like what gets measured gets managed, and what gets managed gets done. In your experience, why has it been so important to start measuring? Were you at one point, were you not measuring? And then, what made that change to start measuring if that's the case?
well, the thing is, like, you can't really measure how successful you have been or trying to become without knowing a path And
Mm-hmm.
so, in order to drive your business forward, you have to kind of know what you've done in the past.
Right. Yeah.
And so, that's where the measuring comes in. Okay, you have, because it's just like in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, where you got to have so many leads, which leads to so many appointments, which leads to so many deals. And you've got to be able to measure like what you're doing in order to know where you're going. Because if you don't know, if you're just like, I just work by deals and then I just figure out, it's like, well, you don't know if you're going to be a thousandaire or a millionaire or a dollaraire. You just, so the reality of it is if you're just working it like worked at your last job, where you're just working paycheck to paycheck and you really don't even know what you're making,
Right.
then you really don't know what you're doing. Then you're just
Right.
kind of winging it. And it's just like, that's how people win Darwin Awards, when you just wing it and then you're dead, So there's where you run into issues where it's like, okay, like I'm just gonna, it's like the chicken that had a head and now the head's cut off and it's just bopping around, and then all of a sudden it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I was in, you're like, dude, you can't. If McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, if Hobby Lobby, Walmart all just ran their businesses just by the seat of their pants, they would not be where they're at today without systems. I mean,
Right.
you go in there, they have the food placed in a certain area. You always got the sodas and the candy bars and all that crap on your way out. It's always it's a system, and it's a process, and it's a way for them to figure out, okay, what we were doing before is not working, so this is what we've got to do to get to where we want to go. And so these are why we do what we do today, because now we've figured out a way to have a proven system that is profitable.
Right. Well, it's kind of funny. This is actually something that I faced for way too long. Um, just like not tracking things, like not being able to look back at what you did before and think, okay, yeah, so I know literally that I had, or I met, X amount of clients last month. And I know that I did this much direct outreach or lead generation or prospecting or whatever, and that resulted in this. And I know next month, if I want to at least replicate these results, I need to do at least that. And then, also it also comes down to like marketing too, because your messaging is going to be different. And if you're not measuring your message and seeing, what has higher conversion rates, you're kind of just shooting yourself in the foot because you really don't have any idea what's working. You're just kind of saying, yeah, I think this word sounds a little bit better, and I don't really know what the market thinks, but I'm going to do it anyway, and we're going to hope for the best. And that's been something that I've been trying to face with my business, is just tracking everything, so there's always room for improvement, because you can't improve on what you don't know. And I think that's been
Exactly.
a huge learning curve for me.
Yeah, there's like people in my office that they set their goals as, well, as long as I do better than what I did last year. Okay, well, I
yeah,
mean, I don't know, that's not necessarily a goal. Like the book 10X talks about setting huge 10X goals so that you can put systems in place in order to reach those goals.
yeah,
And
right.
and so whether, and so you've got to be able to get these, big bang goals, you know, big audacious, what is it? Big audacious noble goals, BANG. Um,
Okay.
and that's from the book Clockwork by Mike McAllowitz. Talks about like how to set up your business so that at some point it runs by itself.
Yeah,
And people don't look at real estate as a business that you can set up to run by itself. It's always got to be you in the center and then everyone else around you. And whether that's you going on the appointments, you showing houses, you listing property, you doing the paperwork, you inputting it in there, you running around doing all this busy work, you chasing down paperwork, you inputting it into your systems, you doing your MLS, you doing all this stuff. And there's only so many hours in a day. And the thing about real estate is, yes, there is some, capacity of making good money, but it's really comes down to, but if you're the center of it all and you're trading one for the other, then your time becomes a thing that's not managed.
Yeah.
It's your busyness, not even your business, your busyness.
And it's so easy to get caught in that trap too, because you start getting busy and you start, generating a ton of leads. You got all this follow up to do, and then all of a sudden you have all these deals to manage and all this paperwork to do. But then it's like, well, shit, you're back at square one.
Right.
In 2 months you have to start completely over because you don't have things to really just offload all that work. I mean, running a
Right.
real estate business is not easy, but if you can
Yeah.
make it easier, right?
And there's a phrase that happens in real estate. It says, uh, we wake up every day unemployed,
Mm-hmm.
and that just should not be. That's just not be, you know. And that's why I feel like, teams are the wave of the future when it comes to building real estate businesses.
Yeah.
And then that also allows your, people within your team to build teams, you
Yeah.
know. And once you're big enough, you can do that to where, you've got a team, you've got 25, 30 agents, one of your team members wants to build a team, you should be able to build a team under them, you know, and then so on and so forth. So,
Yeah, and teams are nice because it helps differentiate. Because there's different types of people. There's people who just like want to go, sit at their desk, do what they need to do, and then leave, or just be fed, spoon fed stuff. And then there's other people who are more of the entrepreneurial sort, and they want to be able to build something and manage it and find improvements and always be working to just make it better. And teams, I think, allow for that. And you're seeing a lot of teams nowadays because it just creates flexibility. It doesn't seem like it would be because you're all of a sudden implementing a structure, but I think that structure actually creates a lot of ease for everyone else because it just gives people their job. They know what they need to do, they know what they are expected to do, and if they want to do more, they can make that decision to do more, but they don't have to. And I think that's
I
why
agree.
teams are so awesome.
Yeah, I agree. And it also allows a person to build something that has value
Yeah.
after, if they decide to get out of the business. You can sell your team, you can stay on as a partner, you could, do a 3-year training bit to sell your team to the next one of your top agents on your team. It also gives you the ability to leave a legacy behind,
Yeah.
things like that, and build true wealth in the industry, you
hmm
know. So
Yeah. And so, okay, so like with the team and even just with a single agent, we were kind of talking about like what gets measured gets managed and what gets managed gets done. Um, I talk to a lot of agents and they have these pretty ludicrous ways of managing their business. For instance, like I was talking to someone and she uses Evernote, which I mean, what works for you, I guess, but there's a lot better ways to do it. At least an Excel spreadsheet is going to be better than a piece of paper. But ultimately, if you want to make it somewhere, you got to transition into the technology that's going to make a lasting difference. And that's simply put a CRM, right?
right.
And if you don't have a CRM and you're just like putting one off, you're really doing yourself a huge disservice because the longer you do that, the bigger of a pile of crap you have to deal with later down the road.
Oh, I know, dude. There's a company in our town right now that still does paper files.
Oh no.
Seriously. Yeah, dude, I'm not joking.
Well, dude, it's
Everything
like,
has a piece of paper to be tracked or lost,
yeah,
you
or
know.
lost, exactly.
Right, right,
Well, it's actually really funny. So we just had the hurricane, not we, but North Carolina just had the hurricane recently,
right.
and um, Nat's insurance company, they basically couldn't find her claim because they're underwater, and it makes me wonder, like, so what do you mean? Like, is it all gone because you just don't have systems set up? Like, what does that mean?
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, right. So yeah, I mean, best strategy for managing is going to get a CRM. And I think the key here is to not overthink it.
Right.
People talk about a CRM and, I mean, you have more experience working with newer agents. What kind of like goes through their head when they hear the word CRM or they see one? Like what happens?
Well, for one, they don't know what a CRM is, and they don't know. but the thing with any agent really is that it's just one more layer of something they need to manage. And that's one of the problems that you have in the industry is that, okay, so I put all these names in here and then what is it supposed to do for me?
Yeah.
You know, and part of the problem is that everybody wants to work the hot leads,
Mm.
and so, they want now business. They want now
Yeah.
business when there's so much later business to be had.
Oh yeah.
And that's really the golden goose, if you will, to real estate is being able to work your system, work your uh, your customer relation management system, because there's it's like, you've got to, for like farming, you got to plant the seeds, and you got to continue to water it, water until they're ready to, until it grows. And that's the same thing with real estate leads. I mean,
Yeah.
they say that 75-80% of those leads coming in are not ready yet. They're 13 to 18 months out.
Hmm.
And so you've got to just know that you've got to, while you're working your deals you have now, you need to be working the deals that are in the background. And that's really what it comes down to, is you just got
Right.
to continue. And, and that's where you're gonna thrive, is that not everybody is ready to buy today, but they will be ready to buy at some point tomorrow.
And that's the key because you can really stand out because if you're patient and if you have a plan, you can be the agent that calls back. And there's a lot of power in that because you're now the agent, right? They already had a relationship with you. They already recognize your face or your voice and you called them back and they're about ready to move forward. So you're all of a sudden, that's like the golden opportunity that no one
Yep.
has,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And I think that transitions nicely into, um, so you have these systems and like agents, they can see it as just another thing to manage, but it's really much more than that in a good way. Because once you get to the point where you're building a team and you have like all sorts of lead sources, you're going to have all this siloed information. And siloed information is not very useful because it's just hard to access. It takes too much time and it's just inefficient. And honestly, your tracking is not going to be that great either. So it's
Right.
important to like keep everything in one spot, and figure out when you're so like if you're an agent who's getting a CRM, one, don't overthink it, but two, make sure that it can integrate with things. Because if you get something that can only integrate with itself, you're not going to do yourself any service because down the road you got nothing. You're
Right.
limited to one company, right?
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of, well, and the other piece of it too is, unless the brokerage that you're working at is on top of the forefront of technology, and there's only a couple of them that I'm aware of that are out there that are constantly innovating, constantly, adding new pieces to their brokerages. But I mean, if you're in a mom and pop shop, and you're okay with that, that's great. But just know that if you're going to use a CRM system, make sure that you find one that improves as technology improves,
Yeah.
because most of the provided type technologies that are available, that are broker specific, or not broker specific, but brand specific, those are typically slow to act, slow to integrate,
Yeah.
just slow to update.
Yeah.
And so you're gonna be behind the times. And I mean, again, there's agents out there that are okay with being behind the times, and that's okay. It's just know that your business is gonna go down. No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, the thing is, like, the reality of it is, though, is that you're either the competition, or you're not even a player in the game.
Right. Yeah.
And the reality of it is that as this type of technology that helps automate your business continues to improve, the reality of it is that the old school ways of doing business, although they are effective, uh, are not scalable.
No. No, I mean to do prospecting properly or like follow up properly, it's almost like you need like a militant like precision and consistency. You know, you got to be on yourself. And honestly, that's just not fun. You
And you
need
got
to,
to be on your time blocking, and most people
yeah,
can't time block.
and, you
I
know,
mean, the reality of it is that we all have a level of ADHD,
yeah,
you know,
right. Well, I
and
think you said it best because um, you know, your competition, yeah, you might be really good at following up yourself. And like, let's say you're like 100% of the time you nail it, but you can't scale beyond that. And your competition is going to be, you know, following technology, implementing these awesome technologies to do all that crap for them. And it's still more effective, if not more effective, because they don't have to personally do it. And you're just going to be left in the dust because you're not going to be able to stand a chance. You know, they're going to be
exactly.
doing so much more in just like not as much time with so much less
Exactly.
effort too.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah. Well, actually, I think that's about all the time we have that we have allotted. But um,
Cool, man.
yeah, I really hope that you guys enjoyed this one. This one, follow up is so near and dear to me because it's so important and it's a lost art. And it can be really easy to automate if you just kind of do some research, do some homework. But if you don't feel like doing that, that's what my company helps agents do. I set them up on what's called a success agent platform where we automate all of their follow up and all of their prospecting. So simply put, they don't have to. So if you guys want some more information on that, I've actually just created a free blueprint. You can check that out at agentsautomated.com/blueprint. Just enter your information and I'll send that out to you right away. And what about you, JP? I know.
I'm everywhere. You can just go on Google and type in JP Fluellen, Fluellen, or you can go to my website, jpfluellen.com, or you can send me an email at james.fluellen@gmail, or you can give me a call and I'll do a free 30-minute coaching call with you, 307-772-1184, and I can send you a link to my calendar, and we can set up that call. So there it is.
All right, guys. Well, thanks again for joining us on another episode of Success Agents, and we look forward to seeing you next.
All right.